Governments have been quietly releasing classified alien documents, and I just don't understand why nobody's talking about it. Military pilots describing craft that defy physics.
We were seeing objects with our radars, with our cameras, and even with our eyes flying on an almost daily basis.
Radar data that makes no sense. Nuclear missiles going offline when UFOs fly over.
And we could see the lights going from green to red all across the board, meaning the missiles were inoperable now.
It's all real. It's all documented. And it's nothing that we should miss. So let's dive in.
I have experienced advanced UAP firsthand, and I'm here to voice the concerns of more than 30 commercial aircrew and military veterans who have confided their similar encounters with me.
July 2023. U.S. Congress. Public hearing. Live cameras. And a former military intelligence officer named David Grush sits down and says under oath that the United States government has recovered non-human craft, non-human biologics.
I was my agency's co-lead in unidentified anomalous phenomena and transmedium object analysis, as well as reporting to the UAP task force, UAPTF, and eventually, once it was established, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO.
He says there are secret, multi-decade programs actively reverse engineering alien technology right now. He didn't say this on a podcast. He said it to Congress, under oath, with whistleblower protection.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
2 decorated Navy pilots, David Fravor and Ryan Graves, testified alongside him.
I have experienced advanced UAP firsthand, and I'm here to voice the concerns of more than 30 commercial aircrew and military veterans who have confided their similar encounters with me.
Graves said UAP encounters happen so regularly that near misses with Navy aircraft are a routine safety concern. The government's response? They didn't laugh it off. They launched an official investigation because you don't hold federal hearings and fund federal investigations into weather balloons. This hearing was the single most significant government moment on this topic in history, and most people missed it completely. USS Theodore Roosevelt encounters. Before the 2023 hearing, Ryan Graves was already raising alarms. Between 2014 and 2015, Graves and other Navy pilots flying off the USS Theodore Roosevelt on the U.S. East Coast were seeing unidentified objects almost every single day. Not once, not twice, daily. These objects were showing up at 30,000 feet, dropping to sea level, accelerating to speeds that no aircraft, American or otherwise, can achieve. No exhaust, no wings, no heat signature from any engine. Graves was so alarmed by near-miss incidents that he officially reported it up the chain of command. The response? Essentially nothing, for years. He eventually went to the New York Times. The Times ran the story. And that story, published in 2017, is what cracked the whole thing open publicly. Without Ryan Graves refusing to stay quiet, we might still be at 0 on official disclosure. He took a real career risk. He did it anyway. AARO? Here's something wild to think about. The US government now has an official office whose entire job is investigating UFOs. It's called AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. They track UAP reports from military personnel across air, sea, space, and land. They publish annual reports. They have a website. They have a hotline for military witnesses to report encounters. This is real. This exists. And what have they found? Their own reports acknowledge that a significant number of UAP encounters remain completely unexplained after investigation. Not probably a drone, not probably a balloon, genuinely unexplained. They've also quietly acknowledged that some objects demonstrate capabilities that exceed any known technology, American or foreign. The fact that this office exists at all is the government admitting something real is happening, because governments don't spend money investigating things that aren't there. The Phoenix Lights.
It is certainly one of the most talked about UFO sightings in U.S. history, and it happened right here in Arizona 28 years ago today.
So on March 13th, 1997, thousands reported seeing a V-shaped light formation in the sky. The Phoenix Lights.
The 13th of March, 1997. Phoenix, Arizona. And this isn't one person seeing something weird. This is thousands of people. Thousands. The entire city looked up and saw a massive V-shaped craft, completely silent, moving slowly over their heads. It was so big it blocked out stars as it passed. People pulled over on highways. Families ran outside. People were crying. The thing was, it was over a mile wide. It moved at low altitude right over a major American city. And the US Air Force said, get this, it was flares, moving in perfect V formation, silent, for miles. The governor of Arizona, Fife Symington, mocked the sighting publicly when it happened. Then, in 2007, he came out and said he saw it too. He said he believed it was otherworldly.
As a pilot and a former Air Force officer, I can definitively say that this craft did not resemble any man-made object that I'd ever seen.
A sitting US governor, thousands of witnesses, and the government said, China's secret UFO files.
Most Chinese love a good alien mystery, so when a mysterious light in the sky grounded flights at one of eastern China's busiest airports earlier this week, it attracted plenty of attention and plenty of speculation.
China doesn't talk about UFOs publicly, but behind the scenes, they're obsessed. The People's Liberation Army has been tracking unidentified objects for decades. In 2010, Chinese authorities shut down Hangzhou Shaoshan Airport, a major international airport, because an unidentified object was detected in the airspace. Flights were diverted, the airspace was closed, and then the official explanation was vague, very vague.
What it was, it's hard to say right now. When the results of our investigation are published, we may have a clearer idea, or we may never know.
More recently, China's state media began reporting on UAP encounters with their military pilots, something they never used to acknowledge. The shift is interesting. China's military scientists have published academic papers on UAP phenomena. That doesn't happen by accident in China. Everything in state media is approved at the top. So when China starts talking about UAPs, even carefully, it means someone at the very top decided it was okay to start talking. That's not nothing. The aerial school encounter. The 16th of September, 1994, Ruwa, Zimbabwe, 62 school children between the ages of 8 and 12 are playing outside at recess when they see multiple craft land in a field near the school. They report seeing beings emerge from the craft, small beings with large eyes.
And then we saw something shiny, and we saw two people. They were in tight black suit, and they had big eyes. And we didn't actually see their nose, it was quite small, and their mouth was quite small as well.
Beings that communicated with the children not verbally, but through what the children described as direct mental images. Images of environmental destruction, images of a dying world. The children reported being given a message about taking care of the earth. Dr. John Mack, a Pulitzer Prize-winning Harvard psychiatrist, flew to Zimbabwe and interviewed the children individually. Over and over, their stories matched. He concluded that the children were telling the truth as they understood it.
It was scary myself.
It was scary because you saw something yourself?
Yes. I saw little objects hovering. It was quite big actually, and then there was little ones all around it.
62 children, consistent stories. A Harvard doctor who staked his reputation on their credibility. What happened at aerial school has never been explained. The Hessdalen lights. Hessdalen is a small valley in Norway, and since the 1980s, it has been one of the most scientifically studied UFO phenomena on Earth. Strange lights appear regularly floating, pulsating, moving in ways that defy conventional explanation. Scientists from universities across Europe set up permanent monitoring stations there. They've captured the lights on radar, on infrared, on multiple simultaneous cameras. The lights have been measured to emit energy across multiple wavelengths simultaneously. They sometimes react to laser light signals aimed at them, changing behavior in direct response. This is science. Peer-reviewed papers have been published about Hessdalen. The phenomenon is real, it's measurable, it's consistent, and nobody has fully explained it. Some scientists believe it's a rare plasma phenomenon. Others think the behavior is too complex and reactive for that. The lights have been appearing for decades. The cameras keep rolling, and the mystery keeps deepening. Mexico's mass UFO sighting. The 11th of July, 1991. A total solar eclipse over Mexico City. Millions of people were outside watching, and someone caught something on camera that nobody expected. Multiple amateur video recordings recorded independently, all captured the same object hovering in the sky during the eclipse. A metallic disc, clearly defined, rotating, visible for minutes. Not a balloon, it doesn't drift with wind. Not a plane, no wings, no sound. These weren't a few people. These were thousands of people in one of the world's largest cities, with cameras rolling for the eclipse. The footage was broadcast on Mexican television. Researchers collected 17 separate videos from different locations around the city, all showing the same object from different angles. Mexican media took this seriously. Scientists analyzed the footage. The object in all 17 videos was consistent. Mexico City essentially caught a UFO on camera from 17 different angles simultaneously during a live eclipse broadcast. The Nimitz encounter. Let's start with one of the most credible UFO sightings ever recorded. November 2004. The USS Nimitz, a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier, is cruising off the coast of California. Commander David Fravor, a highly decorated fighter pilot with 18 years of experience, gets sent to investigate a strange radar contact. What he finds blows his mind. There's a white tic-tac-shaped object, no wings, no exhaust, no markings hovering 50 feet above the ocean surface.
As soon as he got to the merge plot position, the object that he was intercepting dropped from 28,000 feet down to 50 feet above the water in 0.78 seconds, as I found out later the next day.
The water below it is churning like something massive was just underneath. Fravor tries to intercept it, and this thing just vanishes. Then it reappears 60 miles away in less than a second. The Navy's own radar operators confirmed this. The US government officially confirmed this encounter in 2020. Fravor went on record multiple times saying what he saw was not from this world. This isn't a rumor. This is on the record. The Rendlesham Forest incident. This one is called Britain's Roswell, and honestly, that's not an exaggeration. December 1980, Rendlesham Forest, England. Right next to a NATO airbase that housed U.S. Air Force personnel. Multiple U.S. servicemen, not one, not two, multiple trained military personnel, reported seeing a glowing triangular craft land in the forest. Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, the deputy base commander, personally went out there. He saw it. He recorded the whole thing on an audio cassette in real time.
In December 1980, early in the morning, several of our security policemen discovered strange lights in the forest in East Anglia, just outside the back gate of RAF Woodbridge. 3 patrolmen actually were dispatched into the forest and approached the craft. They reported it being triangular, approximately 3 meters on a side, dark metallic in appearance with strange markings.
You can listen to it online. He's describing a craft with red and blue lights, moving through the trees, shining a beam of light down to the ground. He reported it, and then the report got buried. Decades later, Halt went public and said he believed what he saw was extraterrestrial. The man ran a NATO airbase. He's not making this up. The UK government eventually released some documents, but not all of them. Flares. Russia's alien files.
They were reportedly smuggled out of Russia more than 30 years ago. The files apparently revealed the Soviet Union quietly ran multiple UFO investigation programs, tracking thousands of reports of strange crafts.
Okay, now let's talk about what other countries are hiding. Russia, the Soviet Union, had their own UFO research programs, and some of those files have leaked. The KGB reportedly had an entire department dedicated to tracking UFO encounters.
Back in the early 90s, I got into Russia, met with a number of their defense officials, Ministry of Defense and others, who confirmed for me that Russia had been doing the same thing that the United States had been doing, that is, secretly studying UFOs while publicly saying something completely different.
One of the most credible cases came from a Russian military base in 1989. Multiple officers reported seeing a metallic disc hovering over their facility. When jets were scrambled to intercept it, the object demonstrated acceleration that no Soviet or any aircraft could match. Russian cosmonaut Pavel Popovich, a highly decorated hero of the Soviet Union, went on record before his death, saying that UFOs are absolutely real and that the government was aware. He said encounters near military installations were documented and then classified at the highest levels. Russia's interest in this topic wasn't casual. They were terrified someone else had gotten the technology first, or that something else had it entirely. The Voronezh landing.
space aliens are said to have landed in a UFO, and an interview with a boy who spoke of being scared when he saw the UFO and the creature who stepped from it.
This one is wild. September 1000, 989, Voronezh, Russia. This wasn't a military encounter, this happened in a public park. Multiple children and adults reported seeing a large sphere land in the park. Then a tall humanoid figure, described as over 9 feet tall, exited the craft and walked around. The official Soviet state news agency reported this, not a tabloid. The official government press agency. They interviewed witnesses, they published the story.
Once we had a genuine large number of people all correlating with one another, describing the appearance of these giants. So it was not a case of you simply believe a witness or you don't. Here you couldn't fail to believe them because there were so many of them talking in concert.
Soviet authorities investigated and reportedly found a landing site with unusual soil compression. The fact that TASS, a state-controlled propaganda machine, reported an alien landing at all is extraordinary. They had every reason to suppress it or mock it. Instead, they ran the story, which suggests either the evidence was too strong to ignore or someone in the Soviet government wanted it published. Either way, something happened in that park. Nuclear sites and UFOs. Here's a pattern that almost nobody talks about. UFOs are obsessed with nuclear sites.
They did think that there was a solid object within the light, sort of oval-shaped. I kind of dismissed it. I even said, "You mean like UFOs?" and kind of laughed. And he said, "Well, they're not airplanes, sir."
In 1967, at Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana, a site with nuclear missiles, a glowing red UFO hovered over the facility, and 10 nuclear missiles simultaneously went offline. 10 of them at once.
And then we get bells and whistles going off at our control panel, and we could see the lights going from green to red all across the board, meaning the missiles were inoperable now.
Captain Robert Salas was the officer on duty underground. He's been speaking publicly about this for years. He testified before the U.S. Congress. The missiles came back online after the UFO left. A year later, almost the exact same thing happened at another missile facility. Robert Hastings spent decades interviewing military veterans from nuclear sites and documented over 150 cases of UFO incidents at nuclear facilities. This isn't one story. This is a consistent global pattern. Whatever these things are, they have a specific interest in our most destructive weapons, and more importantly, they can turn them off. The Battle of Los Angeles. Let's go back to 1942, February 25th, Los Angeles, California. Less than 3 months after Pearl Harbor. The entire city is on edge. And then at 2 a.m., air raid sirens go off. Searchlights sweep the sky. Anti-aircraft guns start firing. For hours, the U.S. Army fires over 1,400 rounds of anti-aircraft ammunition into the sky over L.A. At something, witnesses described large, slow-moving objects caught in the searchlights. The next morning, the Secretary of the Navy said it was a false alarm and war nerves. But the Secretary of War said actual objects were in the sky. 2 different government officials. 2 completely different stories. Photos from that night show searchlights converging on what appears to be a solid object in the sky. The official story has never fully made sense. You don't fire 1,400 rounds at war nerves. Something was up there. Roswell. Everyone knows Roswell, but here's what most people miss. The initial story from the U.S. Army themselves, the official press release, said they recovered a flying disc. That was the Army's own statement. Then, within hours, the story changed to weather balloon. That's not how legitimate corrections work. That's how cover-ups work. Multiple witnesses, military personnel, ranchers, nurses, describe seeing non-human bodies. Jesse Marcel, the intelligence officer who first examined the debris, spent the rest of his life saying what he found was not from Earth. The material reportedly couldn't be bent, burned, or scratched. When you folded it, it returned to its original shape.
Looked like it was weightless. You couldn't feel that you had anything in your hands. I found one piece of metal, what looked like metal anyway. It was not flexible, but it was as thin as a foil in a pack of cigarettes.
Major Jesse Marcel Jr. His son held the debris as a child when his father brought pieces home. Before his death, he stated publicly he believed it was extraterrestrial. The debris, the bodies, the cover-up. Roswell is still the one that started it all. The O'Hare Airport UFO. The 7th of November, 2006. One of the busiest airports in the world, O'Hare International, Chicago. Multiple United Airlines employees, ground crew, mechanics, pilots, supervisors all see a gray, metallic disc hovering silently above Gate C-17. The disc just sits there, not moving, for several minutes. Then it shoots straight up through the overcast cloud layer at an incredible speed, leaving a perfectly circular hole in the clouds that persisted for several minutes afterward. United Airlines initially denied the incident, but the Chicago Tribune filed a Freedom of Information Act request and obtained FAA radio communications, which confirmed that United Airlines employees did report the object to the tower. When the story broke publicly, dozens more witnesses came forward.
Looked out the window in the general direction and noticed an object up in the sky. Dark gray object sitting above the terminal complex.
The FAA said it was probably a weather phenomenon, a metallic disc that punches a hole in clouds when it leaves. That's not weather, that's a craft. Iran's F-14 chase. The 19th of September, 1976. Tehran, Iran. Multiple reports of a bright object in the sky flood the control tower. An Imperial Iranian Air Force general drives outside and sees it personally. He orders an F-14 scrambled. The pilot gets visual contact and radar lock on the object. He moves to fire a missile, and right then, his instrumentation goes completely dead. Everything. Weapons systems offline, communications down. The pilot breaks off the attack and everything comes back online. A second F-14 is scrambled. Same thing happens when he tries to engage his instruments fail the moment he's in weapons range. The object then sends out a smaller glowing object that pursues one of the Iranian jets briefly before returning. The U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency received a full report on this. It's been declassified. The DIA rated this incident as highly credible and significant. An object that can disable military electronics on command is a different kind of threat entirely. Trans-en-Provence case. France is one of the most serious countries when it comes to official UFO investigation. They set up GAPON in 1977, a government unit inside the French space agency, CNES, specifically to investigate UFO reports. And they found something very interesting in a small town called Trans-en-Provence. In 1981, a farmer named Renato Nicolai witnessed a craft land in his field.
Il faut pas dire que c'était una soucoupe volante, que c'était quelque chose. Oui. Il s'est posé, il est reparti.
GAPON investigated immediately. They collected soil and plant samples from the landing site. Laboratory analysis found that the soil had been heated to between 300 and 600 degrees. Plants near the site showed biochemical changes, a reduction in chlorophyll, that scientists couldn't explain naturally. The landing marks were real, physical, measurable. GAPON published their report, scientifically, officially.
Now, possible to say that in time and in distance, all the biochemical findings are consistent with the description given by the witness. And it is probably the first time in the world, to my knowledge, that such a complete set of data has been obtained on such cases of UFO.
France didn't mock this. France studied it. Their conclusion was that a highly energetic phenomenon of unknown origin had occurred. That's a government space agency saying something landed. Brazil's Operation Saucer. In 1977, the Brazilian Air Force launched a full military operation to investigate UFOs. They called it Operation Saucer, Operação Prado. This was in the Amazon region, where thousands of residents were reporting being attacked by beams of light from aerial objects at night. People were being physically injured. The lights left burn marks on skin. Some people reported being paralyzed temporarily. The Brazilian Air Force deployed military personnel, cameras, and equipment to the region and spent months documenting the phenomenon. They captured hundreds of photos and hours of film. Captain Uiranje Holanda led the investigation and later gave a long recorded interview before his death, in which he described what they found as genuinely unknown and unlike any technology he was aware of.
Ele perguntou se você acredita em disco voador? Eu acredito. Tá ilustrando, então agora você está encarregado desse caso. Aí me deu a pasta com o início da operação para que eu tomasse conta do assunto e ficasse encarregado do caso.
The official Brazilian government files were declassified in 2004. The photos exist, the military reports exist, the injuries to civilians were real and documented. This is not a legend. It's a filed military operation. The Hill abduction. This was the case that changed everything in alien abduction research. Betty and Barney Hill were driving home through rural New Hampshire in September 1961 when they noticed a bright light following their car. The light got closer. They eventually saw a large craft hovering nearby. And then they had missing time. 2 hours that neither could account for. They arrived home disoriented, with torn clothing and strange marks on their bodies. Betty began having vivid nightmares. Under hypnosis conducted by a licensed psychiatrist, both Betty and Barney independently described being taken aboard a craft and examined. Betty drew a star map she said was shown to her. Decades later, astronomers found a match for that map, a binary star system called Zeta Reticuli, which wasn't even officially cataloged when Betty drew it. That single detail, how do you explain that? The Travis Walton abduction. The 5th of November, 1975, Apache Sitgreaves National Forest, Arizona. Travis Walton and 6 logging crew members are driving home when they see a craft in the trees. Walton gets out of the truck to investigate. A beam of light hits him, and he's thrown back. His terrified crew drives away. When they return, Walton is gone. Police investigations concluded the crew had Walton. All 6 crew members passed polygraph tests. 5 days later, Walton reappeared, disoriented, dehydrated, with a full beard, despite having been missing for only 5 days. He described being aboard a craft and encountering multiple types of beings. He was examined medically upon return and found to have physical changes consistent with extreme stress and disorientation. He has never changed his story in nearly 50 years. All 6 witnesses maintain their account. This case was investigated more thoroughly than most crimes, and nobody ever found an alternative explanation. The USS Theodore Roosevelt encounters. It wasn't just the Nimitz. Between 2014 and 2015, pilots from the USS Theodore Roosevelt reported repeated encounters with unidentified objects off the east coast of the United States. Not once, repeatedly, over a period of months. Ryan Graves, one of the pilots, told the New York Times that these objects were seen almost daily. They would appear at 30,000 feet, come down to sea level, accelerate to hypersonic speeds, and they had no visible propulsion, no exhaust, no wings, no heat signature. Graves said the objects appeared to have capabilities far beyond anything the US military has. He was so concerned that pilots were nearly colliding with these things that he reported it up the chain of command. The response? Essentially nothing. He's now one of the most prominent advocates for government transparency on this issue. He testified to Congress. Multiple pilots confirmed what he said. This wasn't one lucky sighting. This was a sustained pattern. Area 51, what we now know. For decades, Area 51 didn't officially exist. The US government denied it was even there, despite the fact that you could see the base on a map. They finally acknowledged it officially in 2013. So we know governments lie about this stuff for decades. Now, what's actually in Area 51? We know for certain that experimental aircraft were tested there, the U-2, the SR-71 Blackbird, stealth programs, but the base has grown enormously in recent decades. Billions in unaccountable black budget spending flows into facilities in that region annually. Jerry Arizona, a man on TikTok, claims he slipped past the boundaries of Area 51 and recorded what he found inside. He says he captured distorted buildings and a strange tower.
That tower on the upper left of the frame there, yeah, that's definitely an F-16. I think it's going to taxi right on past that group of hangars.
Former employees who worked there described seeing things they couldn't explain. Bob Lazar, a physicist who claims to have worked at a nearby site called S4, described reverse engineering an alien craft as far back as 1989. His job at Los Alamos has been verified. His government badge photo was found. His story has been consistent for 35 years. Whether you believe him or not, the fact that governments kept this base secret for so long proves one thing. They absolutely can and do hide things from us. The non-human intelligence theory. Here's a theory that serious researchers, including some inside government, are now openly discussing. What if they're not coming from another planet? What if they've always been here? Some scientists and intelligence insiders have begun using the term non-human intelligence rather than extraterrestrial, because the evidence doesn't clearly point to beings traveling from another star system. Some of the craft behavior suggests they might come from somewhere much closer, deep ocean, underground, or even another dimension. The technology seems to operate outside our understanding of physics. Objects that defy inertia, that exist in multiple places, that disappear and reappear. Some researchers believe these entities have been interacting with humanity for thousands of years, that the ancient texts, the cave paintings, the religious experiences people have reported throughout history are all contacts with the same intelligence. It's a terrifying idea, and the more data accumulates, the harder it is to dismiss. And now, let us move on to our subscriber pick of the day. If you connect everything we've talked about, a picture emerges. Governments around the world, the US, Russia, China, France, Brazil, the UK, have all independently documented encounters with objects that outperform any known technology. They've all classified significant portions of what they found. They've all warned, threatened, or sidelined witnesses who spoke too loudly. And they've all been increasing transparency cautiously, carefully, over the past decade. What does that pattern suggest? It suggests they know something definitive, something so significant that revealing it all at once would be destabilizing. Maybe it's the technology itself, craft, or materials that would change energy, defense, and civilization as we know it. Maybe it's the nature of the intelligence, what it is, what it wants. Or maybe it's contact, actual, verified, ongoing contact that they've been managing behind closed doors for decades. Whatever it is, the walls are coming down, slowly, but they're coming down. So here's where we are. The US military says these things are real. Congress is investigating. Whistleblowers are testifying under oath. Multiple governments have confirmed encounters. Trained military pilots, scientists, and astronauts have gone on record, and the objects keep showing up near nuclear sites, near military bases, over major cities, in the middle of war zones. They don't seem afraid of us. They don't seem to be hiding. They're just present. And we're finally at the point in history where the official answer is no longer, it doesn't exist. The official answer is now, we don't know what it is. That's the most significant shift in human history, since we realized the Earth wasn't the center of the universe.
Finally, tell me, what is this other threat?
Something is out there. Something has been watching. And we're finally starting to admit it. Drop a comment below. Do you think governments have made contact? And subscribe, because this rabbit hole goes much, much deeper.